Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
And we're in Bangkok, and it has been quite a journey to get here.
So we have finally made it. We're in Bangkok and it's taken us nearly 24 hours to get here, including 2 flights and a couple of trains. It's the start of a 7-week tour around Thailand and we are just so excited. We've got our backpacks and we are raring to go.
So have a look how we got here yesterday, and then we'll be back with you to talk about our impressions of the journey overall.
Hey! Yeah, we've just arrived. It has been 20 hours of travelling altogether, but we're here.
And it's 32 degrees and we're following YouTube advice to avoid the taxis, and we are going to try and find the train that goes into town. Apparently it's going to be like 100 baht or £1.50 or something like that, so
£2.50.
we'll see how we get on.
Just a day ticket.
Feeling a bit more confident. We've navigated it. 40 baht each, so £1 each to get into town as opposed to a taxi, and we even managed to use the machines, so we're doing all right so far.
So as you can see, it was quite a 24-hour journey, and it definitely took its toll on us, and it was a bit of a culture shock descending into Bangkok. But it started really calmly by setting off from Manchester.
And we could have got the flights a lot cheaper if we'd flown from Heathrow, but we made the decision to go from Manchester because it's just so much easier for us. We got the train from Sandbach, we were there within 20 minutes, and it had the added bonus that we flew on the Airbus A380, the Emirates aeroplane, so that was really exciting.
Oh, and it was amazing. It was like taking plane travel up another level. We were like kids with bright eyes. It was like we'd never flown before when we walked onto this like huge beast of a plane. But there was so much space.
I have never seen an aeroplane that's that big. And actually our seats, we were in the window seats, a row of 3, and we definitely had a lot more space than we had on the Virgin flight, so it was definitely worth paying that little bit extra.
And you walked onto the plane, and granted, there's a big spiral staircase going upstairs, which we never got a chance to go on because we were in the cheap seats at the back. But then you just walked through, and there was just a genuine feeling of luxury. I don't know whether it's because we're just used to travelling economy all the time, but the quality of service was amazing.
The flight was just over 7 hours. We were a little bit delayed, but we dropped in at the equivalent of midnight in the UK to Dubai Airport. Oh my goodness me, it was just like dropping into another world. It was huge, it was bright, and at that time at night, it was absolutely heaving.
It's a 24/7 airport, and it's an airport that never stops, and it's an airport, to be honest, that's run in ruthless efficiency. Never have we been anywhere where there are sort of guardians all around pointing you in the right direction and making sure you didn't get lost. And, you know, there was all sorts of potential because, to be honest, we ain't got a clue on transfer flights and things like that. We had a mild panic because at one point all the departure board was in Arabic, but it did flick over to English. But when you're just looking at a whole wall of Arabic, it was a little bit scary.
What I really liked about Dubai Airport, after coming back from Florida and spending 10 hours at Heathrow, is the absolute space and comfort. We found a corner near where our flight was going to take off, and they have proper, not reclining seats, but they have proper seats with leg rests, so we just had a bit of a lie down for an hour and a chill out while we waited for the next flight, and just people watched, and it was so fascinating.
It was such an eclectic mix of people, and I said to Jackie partway round, I felt like an absolute country bumpkin, and maybe we are now that we live in the Dales.
We definitely are.
But it was like we were rednecks, completely out of our comfort zone. We were just, trying to take it all in, and there was just people from all around the world. Culturally, a massive shock, but nothing compared to what we faced when we got to Thailand.
So the second leg of the journey was from Dubai to Bangkok. It was on a Boeing 777. It did feel a tad, and we're not going to say shabby because it was still a really nice Emirates plane, but it wasn't as spacious, it wasn't as comfortable, but we got here in the end.
And again, Bangkok Airport, wow, what a just smorgasbord of cultures and a bit of a sort of wide awakening to us after what was like 13 hours sat on a plane.
But I was really impressed when we got to go through the security. It was heaving. There were dozens of flights arriving at the same time, but they must have had at least 20 different passport control booths, and they'd got you ruthlessly, efficiently lined up, and we went through quite quickly. The people that struggled were the ones that weren't organised. You needed to have your passport and you needed your boarding pass, interestingly, and I've never had to give a boarding pass going back through passport control, but we were ready. We'd got everything with us, and we were in and out within about a minute of arriving at the booth. Some people took longer as they couldn't find what they needed.
And then I found my research pressure mounting on me massively as we got through, and Jackie was like, okay, so what do we do now? And maybe being a bit tight-fisted, but also taking the advice from various friends and YouTube friends, we decided that we weren't going to get a transfer into town via a cab or a car, because from what everyone said, it's quite expensive, and the traffic is so bad in town that it can take you sort of nearly an hour to get from the airport to your hotel. So we decided, with a little bit of research from me, to do the train.
And actually, it was really easy. The train station is just down in the basement from the airport, as long as you just find the little logos of the trains. And it was 40 Thai baht, which is the equivalent of about £1 each, to get all the way into the city. And I hadn't realised how far that is.
We were on this sort of monorail type train that
Yeah.
was almost 4 stories up above all the traffic, so you could see everything that was happening around you. And it was a bit sort of ethereal, really, because you could see on the horizon the skyline of the city, and we were getting closer and closer to it, and Jackie was getting more and more quiet as we were getting through the suburbs and closer to downtown.
Oh my goodness, when we got off the train, the first thing that hits you is the heat, because we'd been in the air-conned airport and then an air-conned train, and then it was just like, wow, 32 degrees full on. And then the next thing that hits you is the absolute cacophony of sound. So the train station was above, literally above, one of the biggest junctions in that part of the city, and there was just cars tooting, tuk-tuks and motorbikes revving up and down the street. And then the third thing that hit us is probably just the city smell, with the heat and the food and the fumes. So that was a bit of a culture shock. But then we had to make our way to the hotel.
And probably the hardest thing was crossing the junction that Jackie was on about there. Wow, take your life in your hands. And we were just stood there with our rucksacks on like two nervous little teenagers at first day at school, not quite knowing what lights to look at, when to cross the road. Luckily, they drive on the same side of the road, so there was no fear of us being killed by looking the wrong way. But it was, yeah, an interesting one. And I felt really guilty, to be honest, because the route that we took via Google Maps, and interestingly, we didn't have Google Maps, so I made a little sketch when I was on the plane in my book to work out how we could get there, because we got no phone signal at the moment. But the route that we took in brought us in probably through a sketchy sort of part of town, and it was very, very basic, and some of the food stalls and things like that, I think it was total immersion for Jackie. But yeah, it wasn't that far. It was about a 20-minute walk.
So that's it. We arrived at the hotel. The hotel is absolutely beautiful. If you've seen our planning video, we had chosen to go a little bit more expensive than the most of the hotels that we will stay at in Thailand, because I just wanted to bed down. I'm quite a nervous traveller. I didn't want to be in a big city and worry about where we were going to stay. And we've got a beautiful swimming pool upstairs. It came with bed and breakfast, so we've got a nice breakfast to look forward to. We've got such a lovely view from the hotel. I'm sat here sort of filming and just looking out over the city.
And I think just one of the best things about it that struck us immediately was just how lovely the Thai people are and how lovely the staff are in the hotel. They really looked after us, so we sort of like arrived a little bit bedraggled through the foyer. They showed us through to reception. They gave us some iced drinks while we were checking in, and they're just so nice and smiley all the time, and just really, really kind people.
It did really strike us how culturally different they are. Every time we got to an elevator, if the member of staff is either in the elevator or waiting to go, they just move out of the way and won't come in the elevator with us. And no matter how much we're going, no, it's fine, come in.
So after arriving at the hotel, we were pretty goosed after such a long journey, but we still had a couple of jobs to do. One was to keep us awake so that we weren't awake in the night, and probably the last thing we wanted to do was go out, but we forced ourselves to go out because we desperately needed data on the phones so that we could, when we're out and about, actually find where we are. So we went down a little bit into town, into Siam Square, to find ourselves a phone shop. It
was actually really easy. We'd been advised by people just to go to one of the big shopping malls and use one of the big reputable phone companies. So it's cost us 1,000 Thai bahts each, which is the equivalent of about £25 each, to get a 30-day data package, which should work all the way around Thailand, and it includes phone calls locally, all of our data and text. So we're set up and raring to go.
So we were downtown with all the lights, again, just unbelievably amazing. Crowds everywhere, and we very, very quickly ran out of steam. So I think it was about 8 o'clock, we started heading home, called in at the 7-Eleven, which is what you've got to do in Thailand, and got a couple of cold beers, brought them back to the hotel room, and we were probably tucked up in bed and asleep by 9 o'clock last night.
So it's the next day now, and we are going to go to breakfast, and then we are ready to hit the road.
But that's all going to be in next week's video. So at the moment, catch up with how we got on last night with a little bit of montage of the craziness, and then we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.